The book of Revelation reveals that Jesus Christ would be accompanied with 144,000 of his glorified saints at his return, when he would slay his enemies on this earth and usher in the new covenant in completion, while also ending the old covenant simultaneously. The 144,000 saints are spoken of twice in this book in chapters 7 and 14. While different religious groups would point their followers in 1,000 different directions regarding who their true identity is, the truth is once again not too difficult to discover, just so long as we leave all of those religious people and teachers behind. Looking into these two chapters of Revelation will reveal all of the identifying characteristics of these saints, which will then help us to more easily identify them. These characteristics are 144,000 saints, 12,000 saints from each tribe of Israel. They have the Father's name written on their foreheads. They sing a special song before their King and those gathered in the heavenly chamber. They are virgin males who are never defiled with women. They follow Jesus everywhere he goes. They were redeemed from the earth, from amongst men. There is no guile in their mouths. They are without fault before the throne of God. We don't know anything about the song, for only the 144,000 knew that song, and it was sung to their King in front of those in the throne room in heaven. The Father's name was written on their foreheads in heaven. We cannot use this to identify who these men are either. "12,000 males from each tribe of Israel became the 144,000 saints in heaven with Jesus. These 144,000 saints are the most precious of all saints to Jesus who ever lived on this earth. For our Lord has chosen these only to follow him everywhere he goes. There is no one from this earth who is more important than these ones to our Lord, from all of history prior to this time being spoken of in Revelation. These males live their lives on earth without ever speaking a word of guile from their mouths. These males are without fault in the sight of God. These males were virgins who never once knew a woman. These males were redeemed from the earth to heaven by God." In trying to identify these males, we instantly stumble upon some really difficult things to understand, such as, who on this earth has never spoken guile from their mouths? What group of males in such large numbers would never have known a woman, especially considering the time frame of this prophecy of 2,000 years ago, when everyone was married? Who from this earth could ever stand without fault before God? Each of these things appear to be an impossibility when we try to conceive of the identity of these 144,000 male Israelite saints. One might consider that perhaps we may be looking at men from an ancient Israelite religious order who had taken vows of chastity from their youth. Yet in pursuing this path we still cannot overcome the hurdle of sin, which we are all guilty of. And yet these men never uttered a bad word from their mouths in their lives. They are even called blameless in the sight of God. We seem to be reading about impossibilities. The first and last words of Jesus in the book of Revelation was that everything written within that letter was all soon to take place 2,000 years ago. This is backed up by all other timing references in the New Testament. I want to stay focused only on the 144,000 Israelites with Jesus in this essay. I won't be going into any other detail of end times eschatology in this presentation. The book of Revelation was written to Israelites from Jesus in the final lead up to 70 AD, foretelling everything that would soon take place, warning his faithful servants of the dangers ahead on earth, and prophesying the end of their world as they knew it. These Christian saints living 2,000 years ago would not have had any confusion about anything written within this message. It was not a riddle to them, as it is to many of us today. Those saints would have understood everything that Jesus spoke about in this often very cryptic letter. They would have even known exactly who these 144,000 saints of God were. If these Israelite men were alive at the time of Jesus, then we can also assume that many of the Israelites within these first Christian congregations who are now reading Revelation may have personally known these men. Or maybe these 144,000 men were so famously known that their identity was without any doubt. Then Herod, when he saw that he was mocked of the wise men, was exceedingly wroth, and sent forth and slew all the children that were in Bethlehem, and in all the borders thereof, from 2 years old and under, according to the time which he had diligently inquired of the wise men. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken of by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, In Ramah was there a voice heard, lamentation, and weeping, and great mourning. Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted, because they are not. The 144,000 precious jewels of Jesus Christ were all of the baby boys who were slaughtered by King Herod, as he set about to murder the Christ child who had been born into the world. 12,000 baby boys murdered from each of the tribes of Israel. Not just the baby boys who were still in Bethlehem within this 2-year time frame, but every baby boy in all 12 tribes of Israel who may have been in Bethlehem at that time, and whose parents then left Bethlehem to live in another Israelite state. Why this number of 144,000? We can reason this to be a king's order, after taking counsel how many baby boys were alive under the age of 2, who might possibly be the Christ child. This was the counsel given to the king of best estimation of numbers, 12,000 boys from each tribe of Israel. And so the king's command went forth. We can see also that it was necessary for an exact number to be given in this order. Which mother or father would not lie about the child's age to save them from the sword? They all would. Therefore, an exact number of killings was necessary to be ordered to ensure not one got through within that age range. 144,000 baby boys were murdered by King Herod. They were males. They were taken from the earth. There was no guile in their mouths. They were virgins, having never known any woman. They could stand blameless in the presence of God. These 144,000 baby boys were murdered in the place of the Christ child. These 144,000 baby boys died so that Jesus could live. These 144,000 baby boys were the first Christian martyrs. Of such an enormous slaughter of the innocents, everyone in Israel would have known about and had been affected by this horror. Almost every single person alive would have had a close kin baby boy killed in these mass murders. The infamy of the Edomite King Herod would have been red-hot seething amongst all the people for decades. The Israelite people to whom the book of Revelation was written would have known exactly who Jesus was referring to in these passages. What great comfort and joy would all of these people have gotten from Jesus in this letter? So many of these readers would have been the mothers and fathers, and brothers and sisters, and aunts and uncles, and cousins of these murdered babies. And now what great tidings of joy have they received that these children were to be taken to heaven to be the special jewels of Jesus Christ, the Son of God. We can see why these 144,000 precious jewels of Jesus were more valuable to him than any other person who ever lived on this earth, especially at this time. Only these 144,000 now glorified men would go everywhere Jesus would go. Thus declares the Lord, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel, weeping for her children, refused to be comforted for her children, because they were not. Thus declares the Lord, refrain your voice from weeping and your eyes from tears, for your work shall be rewarded, declares the Lord, and they shall come again from the land of the enemy. And there is hope in your end, declares the Lord, that your children shall come again to their own land. In the prophecy of Jeremiah regarding the slaying of these children, the parents and loved ones were told not to weep for these dead babies killed by Herod, because they would see them again when they returned to their lands within the lifetimes of their loved ones. The land of the enemy in the Old Testament is Sheol, or Hades, the underworld where the dead awaited the emptying out of Sheol by the Messiah. The dead would then go to judgment when the Messiah sat on his throne to judge all of Adamkind. These babies went to Sheol at their deaths. It is from Sheol that these first martyrs of Jesus Christ were raised from the dead as the first fruits to God and to Jesus, and taken to heaven. They then followed Jesus everywhere he went throughout all other events of Revelation, including throughout the lands of Israel in 70 AD, where their parents and loved ones saw them again as glorified men, as beloved of God, and as the most precious jewels of Jesus Christ, their King. Thus were the promises of God and the prophecy of Jeremiah fulfilled. And after these things I saw 4 angels standing on the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another angel ascending from the east, having the seal of the living God. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 angels, to whom it was given to hurt the land and the sea, saying, Hurt not the land, neither the sea, nor the trees, till we have sealed the servants of our God in their foreheads. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel. Of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Manasseh was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Simeon was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Levi was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Issachar was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Zebulun was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Joseph was sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Benjamin was sealed 12,000. And I looked, and lo, a Lamb stood on the Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his Father's name written in their foreheads. And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters, and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne, and before the 4 beings and the elders. And no man could learn that song but the 144,000, which were redeemed from the earth. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. These are they which follow the Lamb wheresoever he goes. These were redeemed from among Adamkind, being the firstfruits to God and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of God.